The vastness of space was both beautiful and terrifying. Stars twinkled like diamonds against the dark fabric of the universe. In this endless expanse, the Galactic Empire ruled with an iron fist. Many planets bowed down to their power. But a small blue planet called Earth was about to change everything. On this planet, the humans had worked tirelessly to create a new type of warship. This ship was called the Defiant. It was not just a ship, it was a symbol of hope for humanity. The crew of the Defiant was made up of brave men and women who believed they could stand up against the mighty Empire. Their leader, Captain Elena Ford, was known for her fierce determination and brilliant tactics. She had always dreamt of proving that humanity was not to be underestimated. As the Defiant prepared for its first mission, the atmosphere on board was electric. The crew bustled about, checking systems and running drills. They were excited but nervous. They had heard the stories about the Empire's elite fleet, powerful ships equipped with the best weapons in the galaxy. But Captain Ford believed they could win. "We may be one ship against many," she said, her voice steady and strong, "but we have something they don't, the will to fight for our freedom." Her words ignited a fire in the crew's hearts. They all understood what was at stake. If the Empire succeeded in their next attack, it could mean the end for many innocent lives. Families would be torn apart, and their home would fall under the Empire's cruel rule. This thought drove them to work even harder, determined to prove their worth. As the Defiant set off from Earth, Captain Ford stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. The ship was sleek and powerful, with advanced technology that no one had seen before. It was designed for speed and agility, allowing it to maneuver around larger ships. She felt a mix of pride and fear as they ventured into the unknown. Their mission was simple: to scout the area near a planet that was rumored to be the Empire's next target. They needed to gather intelligence and warn the nearby colonies. Ford knew the Empire would not expect a single human ship to be a threat, but she was determined to change that perception. As they entered a new star system, the crew spotted several ships in the distance. They were the Empire's vessels, gleaming and menacing. The sight sent a shiver down their spines. "Stay focused," Captain Ford instructed, her voice calm but firm. "We need to gather information without being detected." The crew worked together like a well-oiled machine. They used the ship's advanced cloaking technology to remain hidden as they observed the enemy. Ford took detailed notes, analyzing the ship's movements and strategies. She could see the Empire was preparing for a major attack and time was running out. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Captain, they've spotted us," shouted one of the crew members. Panic spread, but Ford quickly took control. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Engage cloaking." The Defiant shook as it dodged enemy fire. The crew's training kicked in as they followed Ford's orders. They worked in unison, keeping their eyes on the target. Ford's heart raced, but she remained focused. This was their chance to show the galaxy what humans could do. After a tense few moments, they managed to escape the Empire's sights. The crew erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by the close call. Ford smiled, feeling a sense of pride. "We did it!" she exclaimed. "This is just the beginning. We will fight for our freedom!" As the Defiant headed back to Earth, Captain Ford felt a sense of determination. She knew that the fight ahead would be tough, but she believed in her crew and their mission. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for all of humanity. Together, they would show the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. The Defiant would become a beacon of hope, shining bright against the darkness of the Empire. In the vastness of space, one ship was ready to take a stand. The battle for freedom was about to begin, and the humans would not back down. The Defiant returned to Earth, its crew buzzing with excitement. They had successfully gathered vital information about the Empire's plans, but Captain Elena Ford knew that this was just the beginning. The Empire was not going to take their defiance lightly. She could sense the storm brewing, and it was only a matter of time before they struck back. Back at the command center on Earth, Ford and her crew gathered to discuss their findings. The room was filled with maps and holographic displays showing the Empire's movements. The atmosphere was tense as they realized the Empire was preparing for a major attack on a nearby human colony. "We have to warn them!" one crew member exclaimed, fear evident in their voice. Ford nodded, her heart heavy. "Yes, but we can't just warn them. We must rally more support." The ship's systems hummed as they turned invisible, slipping through space like a ghost. Ford's heart raced. They had to catch the Empire off guard to stand a chance. As they neared the enemy fleet, the crew's anticipation grew. "We can see them on the sensors, Captain," another crew member announced, excitement bubbling in her voice. The enemy ships were arranged in a tight formation, preparing to unleash their assault on the nearby colony. "They have no idea we're coming." "Good. Prepare weapons and get ready to fire on my mark," Ford said, her voice firm. Every second counted. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. The lives of many depended on their actions today. Suddenly, the Empire's ships broke formation, moving towards the colony. Ford knew this was their moment. "Now! Uncloak and fire!" she shouted. The Defiant surged forward, its weapons blazing. Bright beams of energy shot out, striking the nearest enemy ship. The explosion lit up the darkness of space, a brilliant flash of defiance. The Empire's fleet erupted in chaos. "They're attacking!" a voice cried out over the comms. Panic spread among the enemy ranks as they scrambled to respond. Ford smiled, knowing that surprise was on their side. "Target their weapon systems. We need to disable their firepower," Ford commanded. The crew worked swiftly, their hands flying over the controls. With each shot, they took down enemy ships, one after another. The Defiant danced through the battlefield, evading enemy fire with grace and precision. But the Empire was not going to back down easily. Admiral Korath watched the battle unfold from his flagship, rage boiling inside him. "Send in the reinforcements. We will crush these pests," he ordered, his voice a mix of fury and determination. As the Defiant continued its assault, more enemy ships arrived, swarming like angry hornets. The odds were beginning to shift, and Ford felt a twinge of fear. "We can't let them surround us. Stay sharp," she shouted. The crew responded with unwavering resolve, focusing on their mission. "Captain, we're taking damage!" a crew member shouted, gripping his console as alarms blared. Ford's heart raced as she assessed the situation. "Redirect power to shields! We can't let them break through!" she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. The Defiant shook as enemy blasts hit, but Ford refused to back down. "We're not done yet! We fight for our people," she declared, rallying her crew. They had come too far to give up now. The battle raged on, each moment filled with intensity. Ford felt adrenaline coursing through her veins as she issued commands. The crew moved as one, responding to her every order with skill and courage. They dodged, fired, and fought with everything they had, determined to protect the colony and each other. "Hold the line! We are making a difference!" Ford shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. As the Empire's ships fell one by one, hope flickered in her heart. The tide was turning. With one last push, the Defiant unleashed its most powerful weapon, a massive energy pulse that rippled through space, disabling several enemy ships in one strike. The crew cheered as they watched the Empire's forces falter. In that moment, Ford knew they had made their mark. The battle was far from over, but they had proven that a single human ship could stand up against the might of the Empire. Together, they were more than just a ship. They were a symbol of hope in the dark universe. And they would fight until the end. The battle raged on as the Defiant tore through the enemy fleet, its weapons blazing. Captain Elena Ford stood at the helm, her heart pounding with adrenaline. The crew was fighting like never before, and the stakes were higher than ever. They had drawn the attention of the Empire, and there was no turning back now. "Captain, enemy ships are closing in from all sides," a crew member shouted, his voice barely audible over the roar of the ship's engines. Ford could see the chaos on the view screen. The Empire had regrouped, and they were coming for the Defiant with a vengeance. "Keep firing! We can't let them surround us," Ford commanded, her voice steady despite the urgency. The crew worked in perfect harmony, each member focused on their tasks. They knew that the outcome of this fight could change everything for humanity. As the Defiant spun and dodged enemy fire, Ford's eyes narrowed. She spotted a large enemy cruiser, its weapons primed and ready. "Target that cruiser! We need to take down their command ship," she ordered. The crew responded quickly, redirecting their firepower toward the massive vessel. The cruiser loomed closer, and Ford felt a sense of determination swell within her. They could not back down. They had to show the Empire that humans were not to be underestimated. "Fire at will," she shouted, her heart racing as energy beams shot from the Defiant's weapons. The cruiser erupted in a fiery explosion, illuminating the battlefield. Ford felt a surge of triumph. They were making progress. "Yes, Keep it up, she cheered, her spirit lifted by the crew's unwavering resolve. But the Empire was relentless. Korath, furious at the loss of the cruiser, ordered a full frontal assault. All ships converge on the Defiant. Show no mercy, he bellowed, his anger evident. The Empire's ships surged forward, a wave of destruction aimed directly at them. Captain, they're coming in fast, another crew member warned, fear creeping into his voice. Ford clenched her jaw. Brace for impact! Prepare the shields, she commanded. The crew quickly activated the ship's defenses, but Ford knew it might not be enough. The enemy ships struck and the Defiant shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the ship took damage. We're losing power to the shields, someone shouted, panic rising. Ford's heart sank, but she refused to let fear take over. Redirect all power to the forward shields. Hold on, everyone, she yelled. The ship rocked again, and Ford struggled to maintain her balance. She glanced around the bridge, seeing the determination in her crew's eyes. They were all in this together. We can do this, she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Fight for our people! Fight for each other! The crew rallied, their spirits ignited by her words. They returned fire with renewed energy, taking down enemy ships one after another. Each explosion fueled their determination, and they fought with everything they had. As the battle continued, Ford spotted an opportunity. There's a gap in their formation. We can break through, she exclaimed, her eyes shining with hope. Full speed ahead! Let's break their line! The Defiant surged forward, weaving through the chaos of the battlefield. Ford's hands flew over the controls, guiding the ship with precision. They were moving too fast for the enemy to react, and Ford felt a rush of exhilaration. Suddenly, the Defiant broke through the enemy ranks, and Ford could see the colony in the distance. They were almost there. We can't stop now! Keep pushing forward, she urged, her heart racing with anticipation. But the Empire wasn't finished yet. Korath unleashed his secret weapon, an enormous battleship that emerged from the shadows. Prepare to fire everything we have, he shouted, determination in his voice. The battleship loomed large, and Ford felt a chill run down her spine. Everyone focus on that battleship, she commanded, her voice steady. They needed to take it down before it could unleash its full firepower. The crew fired everything they had, beams of energy lighting up the dark space around them. The battleship returned fire, and the Defiant shook violently as blasts hit its shields. Hold together, Ford yelled, gripping the console tightly. She could see the strain on her crew's faces, but they pressed on, refusing to give up. Fire the main cannon, now, Ford ordered, her heart racing as the ship charged its most powerful weapon. The crew worked feverishly, and with a deafening roar, the Defiant unleashed its shot. The blast soared through space, striking the battleship and causing a massive explosion. The shockwave rippled through the battlefield, and Ford felt a surge of victory. They had done it. They had shown the Empire that they could stand and fight. The tide was turning, and hope flickered like a flame in the darkness. The Defiant was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of resistance, and they would never back down. The battle was finally over, and silence fell over the battlefield. Captain Elena Ford stood on the bridge of the Defiant, staring out at the wreckage of the once mighty Empire fleet. The glowing debris floated in space, a haunting reminder of the fight they had just endured. But for Ford and her crew, it was a symbol of hope and victory. Is everyone all right? Ford asked, her voice filled with concern as she looked at her crew. They were exhausted, but their eyes sparkled with determination. We did it, Captain, a crew member shouted, pumping his fist in the air. Cheers erupted across the bridge, and Ford felt a swell of pride. Let's not celebrate too soon, Ford said, raising her hand for silence. We need to assess the damage and ensure our systems are stable. We've come too far to let our guard down now. The crew nodded, their expressions serious. They knew the fight was far from over, but this battle had changed everything. As they worked, Ford received a transmission from the nearby colony. Captain Ford, this is Governor Patel. We are in awe of your bravery. You saved us from certain destruction, the governor said, his voice filled with gratitude. We cannot thank you enough. It was a team effort, Governor, Ford replied, her heart warming at the praise. We fought for you and everyone else who believes in freedom, but we need to ensure the Empire does not come back. Governor Patel nodded. We are ready to assist you in any way possible. We can send resources, reinforcements, whatever you need. Ford smiled, knowing that they had allies now. This battle had united them all against a common enemy. Meanwhile, Admiral Korath was not defeated yet. He had escaped the destruction of his fleet, furious and plotting his revenge. As he stared out at the vastness of space from his flagship, he knew that this was not the end. The Empire had faced setbacks before, but he would not let a single human ship stand in their way. "We will return stronger than ever," he vowed, clenching his fists. Back on the Defiant, Ford gathered her crew for a meeting. "We have won this battle, but the war is not over. The Empire will strike back and we must be ready," she warned. "We need to train, gather more support, and strengthen our defenses. This is just the beginning." The crew nodded, understanding the importance of her words. They had tasted victory, but they also understood the fragility of their freedom. "We'll do whatever it takes, Captain," one crew member declared, determination shining in his eyes. "We are ready to fight." Over the next few weeks, the crew of the Defiant worked tirelessly. They repaired their ship, trained for future battles, and reached out to other colonies. Word of their victory spread like wildfire, inspiring countless others to join the fight against the Empire. Ford felt a renewed sense of purpose as allies began to rally around them. As they trained, Ford noticed the camaraderie growing among her crew. They shared stories, laughed, and encouraged each other. They were more than just a team, they were a family. Ford often found herself smiling as she watched them bond, knowing that this unity would be their greatest strength. One day, while on a training mission, Ford received a message from the Galactic Council. "Captain Ford, your actions have inspired many. We would like to discuss forming an alliance to protect our colonies from the Empire," the council representative stated. Ford's heart raced. This was exactly what they needed. "Absolutely! We would be honored to work together," she replied, her excitement palpable. The council representatives arranged to meet with her crew, and Ford prepared for the discussions ahead. She knew this was a crucial step in building a strong front against the Empire. As the meeting day arrived, representatives from various colonies filled the Defiant. Ford stood before them, her heart swelling with pride. "Together, we have proven that we can stand against tyranny. Let's forge a future where we protect one another, where our voices are heard, and where freedom reigns." The room erupted in applause. They were united now, and the Empire would no longer be able to bully them into submission. With newfound strength and a shared vision, Ford and her crew were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the Defiant soared through the stars, Ford looked out into the vastness of space. She felt a sense of hope and determination. They were no longer just a human ship fighting alone. They were the heart of a growing resistance. The future was bright, and together they would ensure that freedom would prevail.